Oh, wait. I got my paperwork here and everything. All right, cool.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on one sec. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna okay. I'll tell you when.
All right, let me see your shot. All right, that's cool. We're hot, man.
Yeah, so theoretically we're live right now. So
All right, well, I don't see what's happening.
oh yeah,
All right, there
we're
we
good.
go.
Yeah, there we are.
Yeah. So it says streamers offline, but let's see what we're doing here. This is the amateur show here. This is our beginning. Just came from court.
Yep,
All right.
just came from court. Got a really interesting story to tell you guys about what just happened to Dustin. If you don't know who we are, my name is Paul Wittenberger, and this is Dustin Lone. Dustin, introduce yourself.
What's up, folks? So my name is Dustin Lone. I'm just a regular guy. I just go to church with Paul. Paul's a filmmaker, and we're married. We got a whole brood of kids, and we're just trying to get this channel going here, trying to get this stream off the ground here on D Live, and we just want to. We're in suits. We normally don't wear suits every day, but Paul was so kind to give me a ride to the courthouse today, as I had a court case. And the reason I had a court case is because the church I go to here in Phoenix, we have what's called a soul winning program, and that involves evangelizing, going door to door, and preaching the gospel. So it's organized by the church. I'm one of the team leaders. So on a Saturday morning, people get together and we hit neighborhoods and we knock doors, invite people to church, and ask them if they know if they're on their way to heaven. We explain to them the gospel of Jesus Christ if they're interested to hear. Most people, you'd be surprised, are not interested to hear. So we just introduce ourselves and give them an invitation. But if they're not interested, we just go on our way. You know, it's door-to-door soul winning. It's a timeless tradition of just mature citizens, just people interacting with people by just walking up to them and saying, "Hi, how are you today? Can I ask you a question?" And you know, in our society, people are pretty skittish. People are afraid of people. People are not very friendly often, especially when you want to challenge them about something as serious as their soul security. It's something as deep as religion, or things as controversial as the Bible. So our society's falling quite a bit, but this is not new. People have had this attitude, you know, since the dawn of creation, where people just didn't want to hear about the things of God, or they don't agree with it. So our church goes around and we obey the Great Commission as laid forth in the Bible, as we go forth, and we're to reach all nations and to preach the gospel, tell people what Jesus Christ did for them and what it takes to go to heaven. So this story begins with a Saturday morning where I just was doing my regular duty as a church member, and I grabbed my team of soul winners, and we just went out to fill in the map. And what that means is have a map of our area, the greater Phoenix area, and we go around and we just try to canvass the entire area to say that we've knocked all the doors in Phoenix. So we went to a fresh area, and one of the areas on our map was a trailer park. So here in Phoenix, we have a bunch of snowbirds, or a lot of people who are just retired, have come here from other parts of the country. They're from Canada, and they have retirement parks. And one of these retirement parks is an over 55 community. So people buy these trailers, and they have these lots, and so it's all one property. It's like I don't know if they're rented or owned. I think they rent the lots or something, own the trailers, something like that. So this Saturday morning, we were going to get this one area, and we had gotten the neighborhood around it, but this one area is kind of impenetrable. So, you know, going down the street, you can just knock on any door generally speaking. But when you have these neighborhoods, there's a lot of closed off neighborhoods. There's only one way in and there's only one way out. There's sometimes they have gates. So in order to fill in our map, we have to navigate these areas. And so this one neighborhood's like half a mile long, and we're on the wrong side in order to get in. So what I did, being the courageous leader that I am, I just encouraged our team to jump this wall. So we jumped this wall, which wasn't a big wall. We didn't have to stand on each other's shoulders and boost each other over or anything. It was just a wall that we hopped over pretty quickly. And then we just started knocking these doors and going through the neighborhood. And as I was going through this neighborhood, we just knock the doors, and if anybody's home, we just have a kind word with them. If they're not interested, we just go on our way. And if they are interested, we'll have a word with them. Some people aren't so kind. They're like, hey, just go away. And we'll say, all right, well, take it easy, bye. So we're walking through the neighborhood, and a car pulls up, and this chain-smoking lady was not very polite to us and said that we had to get out of here because we were trespassing. Now, I just came from court, so I feel like I'm free to discuss the liberties of the case, because if you haven't figured out by now, the police got involved and I was charged. So the lady's like, you're trespassing and you can't be here. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a neighborhood and I have neighbors. I actually live in what's called an HOA, which is a housing organization, homeowners organization. So there's rules made by the homeowners association, and they can say you can't take your trash out until the day before your trash is due, and you have to hide it behind the wall or whatever. So they can kind of tell you what to do, but they can't tell you who can come to your house. They can't say, well, I noticed that you're hanging out with that person that nobody likes, or you're hanging out with that person for X, Y, and Z. They can't come over. So nobody can tell you who your guest can be. And if you have a landlord, if you're renting property and you're paying money every single month to this landlord, they can't tell you who can come to your house. That's none of their business. You're paying as a tenant. And so you have a right to associate and to assemble with whoever you want to, unless there's exceptions, I suppose, if you have restraining orders and so forth. But nobody can tell you who you can have fellowship with and who can come to your house. So when somebody has maybe this is good for you guys if you live in an apartment complex or you have an HOA, but nobody can just tell you who can come over. So my understanding is if somebody wants to have a guest, then they're at liberty to decide who those guests are and when they can come and when they have to leave and so forth. So this lady coming along and saying, hey, you can't be here. I'm like, well, you can't speak for everybody that lives here. I think I have the constitutional right, because there is the First Amendment where you have your right to exercise your religion should not be infringed upon. That we can exercise our religion. Our religion commands us to go and preach the gospel. So my reasoning is that that's what I'm doing, and she doesn't have the right, even if she claims to be the manager of an apartment building, because she can't tell people that they can't have guests. Now, granted, these people don't know who we are. They don't know we're coming by. But what if I was a trick-or-treater? What if I was somebody going along, and what if I was the sweepstakes guy and I just wanted to go knock on the door and just let them know that they won the random sweepstakes, and I'm just here to deliver this oversized check for $100,000 from the sweepstakes? Is it possible that hold on a second. I'm just getting this note. D-Live team, welcome to D-Live. Please make sure you've read our welcome letter at the D-Live if you need help. If you would like alerts for your D-Live stream, please visit. So, Paul, do you see that?
Yeah, I see it too.
You want to visit that while we're doing this and see what that means? And
sure.
Maybe we get some traffic here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So you're allowed to have people come over to your house, and I don't think anybody should be able to tell you that you can't. So this lady's, you can't be here. She's just an old lady, chain smoking, in her Ford Escort or whatever her beater of a car is, and she's not wearing any sort of management attire. She's not wearing company logo or anything like that. She's just a lady who says she's the manager. So I said, okay, well, you say you're the manager, and you say I can't be here, and you say I'm trespassing, then I guess that's what you say, and I hear you. So, but you really, we're not trespassing. And she said, well, how did you get in here? I said, we came in from over this way over here. Didn't you see? She's like, didn't you see the sign? And I said, well, no, I didn't see the sign. Well, we had to walk past the sign. I said, no, we came in another way. So maybe that was probably part of the problem, but I think it worked out for us in the end. So I didn't see the no trespassing sign. But who's trespassing? Because we weren't loitering or anything. We were just going around inviting people to church, and I think that's our constitutional right, and I don't think anybody has the right to say that you can't have visitors at your house. And so as we were walking along, we did leave some invites on a couple doors, but she lurked behind us, and we did, as we were further down the road, we did meet somebody that we had a conversation with. She said she was going to call the police, and I said, do what you've got to do. I don't believe we're doing anything wrong, and so call the police if you have to, but we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, and we'll be done. There's only so many houses here, and once we cover the territory, we'll mark it off the map, and we'll just consider ourselves complete with your neighborhood, and you don't have to interfere with us, and I'm sure everybody's grown up enough where they can accept a visitor and ask them to leave. So nobody's challenging anything that's going to hurt anybody. I know we live in a snowflake society, or they'd like you to think that. They'd like you to think that well, if I say something offensive, then I'm hurting somebody, so therefore you can't talk about that here. This is not the place. So you've got a lot of people doing that, and I don't subscribe to that mentality. So when people come in with that garbage, I don't give it any mind. So when people say, well, you can't say this and you can't say that because you might offend somebody. No, clearly there's vulgarity and there's things that are inappropriate for certain situations. But just talking to people about, hey, do you have a belief that you have a soul? Do you believe that your soul is eternal? And these are questions that have been asked between people since the dawn of creation. Since the beginning of time, people have had these deep thoughts. And our society is so superficial and so shallow, and everybody just wants to watch their ball game and their soap opera, and they just want to stay right at the surface level of thinking, and they don't want anything to go outside their routine, and they've been conditioned and hypnotized into some state where if you ask them of anything of any substantial depth, that they're triggered, where they're uncomfortable with that. And that's only if they allowed themselves to become that way. But it seems like more and more people are allowing themselves to be triggered when you ask them of things of religion or things of spirituality. So we go door to door and we ask these people. And I didn't, as we were walking down the road, I encountered some lady, and she was willing to talk. So we had this conversation, and it was going really well. But lo and behold, the police arrived. And they did show up, and I did have a conversation with the police. And so I want to play that for you.
What did
here.
we do?
You guys are trespassing.
Are we trespassing? Are we trespassing, Brenda?
Well, no, I was talking to them.
Yeah, so we're not trespassing.
Well, the manager here said she asked you to leave and you guys refused.
Well, here's the deal.
Are you on appointment with Brenda? Let me see your ID.
I'm going to show you this. It's the law.
Okay.
Okay.
Grab your ID as well.
I don't have to do that. I'm not going to.
Grab your ID.
It's not required to have ID.
If you don't show me your ID, you're going to go to jail.
Okay.
You want to go to
Are you
jail?
recording this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Take me
So you're willing to go to jail for this?
Under what charge?
Failure to provide evidence of identity.
Who says I have to carry ID? I'm not here to argue with you.
Okay, well then you can tell me who you are.
Okay, you can call me Dustin.
No, what's your real name? Your
You can call me Dustin.
You are required to provide me with your
Am I
truthful
required
name.
to have a legal name?
There's an Arizona law that requires you to give me your truthful name.
Okay, well, you said I'm lying.
I'm saying you're lying.
Okay, prove it.
I will.
Where's your evidence that I'm lying?
Okay. So what is your first name?
You can call me Dustin.
No, what is your first name?
Everybody calls me Dustin.
That is your first name?
Well, you're asking the question. I'm giving you what you can refer
I'm
to.
asking you
My
what your
given
legal
appellation
first name is.
Dustin.
What is your first name?
Okay, what law am I breaking here? What's your name? Ron?
It's Arizona Revised Statute 13-2412.
Okay.
Okay. Your You're required to provide truthful name.
Okay.
I'm
All right, so let me just pause it right there. So I'm having this conversation with Brenda, and so the law is that if the police officer is investigating a crime, then you have to give them your. I should have turned that off. You have to give them. Now this is different in every state. So in some states, I think what do they call that? I forget. There's a law in different states where some states you don't have to give anybody. You know, don't ask me any questions, and I don't have to answer any questions. You know, we have the right not to incriminate ourselves, and we have a right not to answer any questions, and that's including identifying yourselves. Now, Arizona, I guess, is a little bit different, and I thought Arizona was more of a state of liberty and a state of constitutional rights. Everybody has open carry rights, and there's good homeschooling, and the state pretty much stays out of your business. But when you think about it, truly, the liberal states are the ones that have the laws that say you don't have to give your name. So I came from a liberal state, Maryland, and you don't have to give your name. So I thought I was well versed in what the laws were, but I had it backwards. And the reason Arizona has this law, this is my surmising, is that because of immigration, is because there's so many illegals here in Arizona. They want to have the ability to determine if somebody is on the list of not a welcome visitor. And in Maryland, they don't have that problem. They also, they allow a lot of people to kind of get away with a little bit more things like that in those states. But Arizona doesn't have. They're a little bit more strict on those things. So the law is that you have to give your full name when asked from a police officer who is investigating a crime. Now, we just watched the video. The crime he was investigating was trespassing. Now, I showed him a document, which was an assessment made over the years by court decisions, which said that I had the right to go door to door, that nobody in a trailer park is allowed to make a decision on behalf of everybody. They cannot make blanket decisions to determine whether somebody who's practicing their free religious rights, that they could not be prohibited from doing so if they were in an apartment or a trailer park. And so this is our circumstance, and I'm showing this, but he didn't want to see that. But I still believe that I was within my rights and that was a true court decision. But what happens is they have different statutes in different jurisdictions, so they can have unconstitutional laws in any jurisdiction, and the police officer is going to follow those laws because, just like, they clean out their lunches on Friday out of the break room refrigerator, and if your lunch is left in there on Friday, it's going in the trash, so he's still going to have to know, like, that's what I do at my job is we get our lunch out of the trash. We get our lunch out of the refrigerator, or else it goes in the trash. And what else we do is that if somebody's knocking doors, or if somebody says that the apartment manager says that they're trespassing, even though it's not a constitutional thing, that's just how we do it. So that's what he's following. But I think I'm operating under a higher law when I say I'm not going to give you my name. I'm not going to do that. And there's another thing that's happening here is that Brenda, who's the tenant, clearly says that I'm not trespassing. So in what circumstance is it that your neighbor, who also probably, I don't know if she's getting paid or if she just has this lofty title of the manager, because they didn't even issue her a golf cart or a T-shirt or anything. She didn't get a magnet on the door of her Ford Escort. So Brenda's minding her business, having a conversation with somebody that she saw walking down the street, and I just said, hey, Brenda. I didn't say, hey, Brenda. I said, hey, how you doing? Can I ask you a question real quick? You got a moment to talk? Yeah, come on up. So I went up to the front porch, and I'm talking to her, and we're having a great conversation about church and about the Bible, and she's a Christian, and we're having fellowship. We're enjoying each other's company. And I knew that I kind of knew the police were on their way, so I kind of stuck around, hoping that Brenda would have my back when I got there, and she sure did. I said, Brenda, am I trespassing? She said, no, I want them here. So when the police came up to investigate trespassing, you know, here I am as a guest at somebody's doorstep. So I think that's a pretty solid case that I was not trespassing, that they didn't find me trespassing, and so therefore the line of questioning was unnecessary, and that there was nothing to investigate.
Yeah, because they didn't arrest you for investigating. That's not what you were charged with at all, right?
For trespassing?
Trespassing, yeah, sorry.
No. So the other fellow I was with, he gave over his ID as soon as the police officer asked for it. So he didn't get any blowback. Well, clearly, you know, the course of action I've taken is not going to go along as easy as just giving your driver's license to the guy. So he actually did get cited, not with trespassing. He got a warning, basically. So they did justify that they did complete their assignment to figure out what was going on with this trespassing. So, yeah, so I'm going to keep going here with this video. So I asked him what was the law that I was breaking, and you know, so he started citing the law of not giving your true full name. But the law, he said truthful name. So I was giving him my truthful name, but the law states true full name, which is kind of interesting because it's kind of almost a homophone, or it's almost one of those things where you have to see it written down if somebody speaks clearly or speaks quickly. The law says true full name. Now, I did give him my truthful name, which is what he was asking for. My name is Dustin. I was telling the truth, so I didn't believe I was lying. But, you know, you were splitting hairs here.
I'm letting you know that is against the law.
Okay, well, you know what? I guess you can prove it online, and you have claims to bring that charge against me. But you don't have any evidence.
So you go by Dusty?
Dustin.
Dustin?
I told you 3 times.
And that's
Dustin.
the name that's on your birth certificate?
Does it have to be?
The name, yeah, that's the truthful name.
Okay. Well, listen, what are you bringing up against me here? Because I'm here visiting my friend Brenda.
You're here an appointment with Brenda?
Do I have to have an appointment? Do you have an appointment with me to bother
She
me?
said she asked you to leave, and you refused to leave.
I came down the road and I said hi to Brenda, and we
Okay.
started a conversation.
Okay.
Is that illegal?
It is when she asked you to leave and you refused to leave.
But the thing is, according to the Constitution,
No.
she can't
This
represent.
is private property.
Yeah, but is she on this property here? You own this property?
She owns the trailer.
Okay. So at what
Okay,
point?
her sister owns the
At
trailer.
what point is it?
Okay, are you going to give me your real name, your truthful name, or no?
What, do you just want me to leave? Is that what you
No,
want?
are you going to give me your truthful name, yes or no? That's
Who's saying I have it?
okay. This guy's about to get temporary notice. Okay. This is your last chance.
For what?
So give me your truthful name, or you'll go to jail.
I said I have.
No, you haven't. Okay, what is your truthful name that is on your birth certificate?
Okay, so the thing is, what am I doing
That
illegal?
is irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
Okay, so
Okay.
you're allowed to just come
Okay, this
to
is your
anybody
last
in your
chance.
van.
Right,
So I
here's
just
your
gave
last
you
chance.
I just gave you my truthful name that's on my birth certificate.
What
Does
is
that
it?
make it happen?
It's Dustin? What is
Yeah.
your last name?
Why do I have to give you this information?
You have to.
Okay. Okay.
What is your last name?
So are you taking me to jail for not giving
Yes.
you my ID?
Turn around. Put your hands behind your
Okay.
back.
I don't have ID on this.
Okay. You don't have to have ID. But you just got to give me your name and date of birth,
We're gonna find out now.
All right.
or you'll sit in jail.
All right, well, yes. So I went to jail.
What a dick.
I went to jail, and they charged me with failure to provide the police officer with my true full name. Provide name. Actually, I'll tell you what they said, what it was here. So to give my refuse true name, obstruction, and then refusal to obey police officers. It took me to jail, and so then I hired the attorney, got the attorney, and long story short, they didn't give me like this diversion, which they could have done because I got in trouble in 1997, and I took the diversion, which is the probation before judgment, or where they don't apply a guilty sentence because you decide that you agree to terms of conditions, and if you complete those terms, then it won't go on your record. So I had done that in 1997, so 22 years ago. So they said it was their so first court date, I get there without an attorney, and they say, well, we're not going to give you any sort of deal. We're going to offer to you that you can spend a day in jail and pay $275 and just plead guilty. Well, I don't want to plead guilty because I didn't believe I was guilty of the trespassing. I believe I had a shot. So then I went to, he said, well, I can't give you the diversion. I said, well, I'll hire an attorney. So I hired an attorney. pretty popular attorney here in the Valley, and so I went and met with him, and he liked the case. He saw everything. He saw that that lady wasn't identified as a manager. She could have just been anybody, which is truly in when you go soul winning, you get people all the time who come along and claim that they have authority to deny your like you can't be here. You can't be here, and I say that you can't be here because, and then they say that they're the manager or that they work there, and it's not always the case, and you don't have to believe anybody. Just, I didn't accept that claim, and she didn't have anything besides that, and the police officer believed her, and so that's how she ended up being able to claim that I was trespassing. So, but that was true, that they didn't know that I knew she was a manager. And the other thing is the fact that he misstated the law, and that he said if I didn't have an ID, I would go to jail. So the police officer also lied on the police report, saying that when he asked for my name, I said, oh, well, here's a name. You can use this. Here's a name. And basically saying that I just was mocking him by just giving him any name. But I clearly said this is my true name, this is my truthful name, and you said I have to give you my truthful name, so he didn't state the law right. So we had a pretty good chance. And then so they said, well, we're going to have to go to trial because once I hired the attorney, the next thing was, okay, well, what did they do? Something changed. So it was like 1 day in jail. Something changed. And like $275 in fine. And then I hired an attorney, and he talks to him. He's like, okay, 1 day in jail. Was it still 1 day in jail and like $185 or something? So like the attorney just didn't get any better of a deal. I'm going to get on this in a minute. I'm going to come back about this attorney situation. So the attorney, he didn't get me any better. He's like, well, we're just going to have like, all right, well. And of course, he charges you another 35% or 30% of what you already paid to hire him and to retain him to do all the work to go to trial. So now we're on our way to trial. And so I had a trial date for, I want to say it was November 8th. And so I was scheduled to go to the trial on November 8th. And then my daughter had appendicitis, and we had to take her to the hospital, and my wife's home with the other kids, and I have to take off work to be with my 3-year-old daughter who's hospitalized for a week. So the lawyers were really helpful. They said, okay, we'll take care of this. We'll push off the date. So they gave me another date, which was today, December 6th. So, but what's interesting is I didn't know what that date was. They just said, okay, we'll get you another date. And so Wednesday night, which is 2 days ago, I'm riding with a friend, and he said, how's that court thing going? I said, I don't know. I'm just, I had to push it off because my daughter being in the hospital. I don't know. So after that, I shoot off an email to the paralegal and said, hey, when's that court date? Well, this is after 5 o'clock, so I didn't hear back until the next day, which was yesterday. And I get an email from her. No, I get an email from her saying, oh, yeah, it's tomorrow at 12:30 or 1:30. I said, oh, I'm glad I asked. So then she calls me on the phone. She said, your attorney got some news. The attorney's got some news from the state's attorney. They want to have a conversation with you. Do you have time for a call with them? Sure. So she's like, well, it's in like 20 minutes. Can you do that? I said, sure. So they call me in 20 minutes, and they say, well, guess what? Good news. Now I'm going to rewind back to that first time when I sat down with the prosecutor. I sat down, and I said, well, he's like, we're willing to give you 1 day in jail. I said, well, can't you do some kind of diversion? Well, it says here that you have some kind of history where that's a one-time shot, and we just don't make any exceptions. I said, he's like, that's our policy. I said, well, policies are just policies. You don't have, it's not a law. It's not hard set. I'm sure under the right conditions you could make adjustments to that. I'm just asking if you would do that for us today. And so after that, I went on my way, hired an attorney. So, so the prosecutor was still holding on to this thing. Well, we're not going to do that because it's not our policy. And he also said, the other guy said, I'm not the guy in charge. I'm not the state's attorney. I'm just one of the other guys that just do his bidding, right? I'm just one of his underlings. I mean, these are my words, but that's what it meant. And so I said, all right, well, fine. I guess, well, let's have the attorneys talk it out. And I'll have my attorney call him up. And they're like, yeah, sorry. My attorney says they're not going to go. They can't do that because whatever. This guy's really, that's just how he is. And he's got the reputation. And, and so I wish there was like an emoji for blowing smoke because I think these attorneys just blow smoke. So I used to sell cars for many years, and I've been in the world a little while, so I know when people are putting people together, and you just kind of have to go with it. And putting somebody together is a phrase that's when they set you up. That's when they put you in a position for you to perceive things or for you to be in a position where your options are reduced. So I could tell that the lawyer was doing that. So I get a call yesterday from my attorney, and he's like, oh, good news. We got a new state's attorney. We got another one, the other guy, whatever, right? I don't even know what it was, but it just seemed like he was just telling his story. I said, okay, well, what'd he say? Because it's convenient. I didn't even know about this court date coming until 25 minutes ago, and now you've called me up, and now you've got news from this prosecutor. And here's the deal. And the deal is that he's willing to give you the diversion. He's willing to because I didn't want anything on my record because I don't know what's going to happen in the future for employment or what my life is going to have. But I'm not just going to go and plead guilty when I don't believe I'm guilty. And I'm not going to go and say, hey, I did that wrong and they were right and I was wrong. And can I just go to jail? And can I just pay the fine? And can you please, if you haven't watched the video, I'm not really like that. Go back in the beginning of this where you saw the video of me talking to the police officer. I'm not really one to cuck, as it were, or to bow the knee or to submit myself to this bogus stuff. Because it's, if you believe in the Constitution, then you believe that I was standing on according to the higher power. The higher power is the Constitution. That they can't just come up and bully you and to say, hey, what's your name? Where are you going? Who are you talking to? So I'm not really into that. So I didn't. I wasn't keen on that. But so when the lawyers tell me, okay, well, we've got a good deal, and the good deal is that they're going to give you the diversion. You're not going to have this on your record. That's what you wanted, right? And I said, yeah, well, that's why I hired an attorney, and that's why we paid the extra money to go to trial, because I wasn't going to plead guilty, so I have a guilty on my record. But so then he goes and says, so you just got to do 10 hours of community service. Now, from any nonprofit organization, which is kind of cool because I do community service anyway all the time at a nonprofit organization. I belong to a church, and anything I do at the church service-wise, you technically can say is community service. So I just need somebody to sign off on that. I got 10 hours of that to do. So I'll find a way to do that. And the other thing is that I've got to do 10 hours. No, I take that back. I've got to do I have to do anger management. Maybe I should take speech therapy. I have to do anger management, they said. And I said, what does that include? Well, you have to sit down and they do an assessment and they determine what the program is. I said, all right, well, let me think about it. I'll call you back. He said, well, you have until 2 o'clock today. So this is why I think these lawyers, even if you pay them, even if they're on your side and they're your advocate, I believe that they're just playing for the same team. These guys they're just putting you together. And it's kind of a shame because you can't just go to court on your own and just say, well, you know what? I want to produce the facts. I want to come in and I want to ask some questions here. I want to go and say, where's your evidence? And I want to see the evidence. And I want to go and say, well, here's my evidence. I want to bring forth my witness. You have to have an agent who's part of their game. It's like they can't even see you. You don't exist in their courtroom. The only way you exist in that courtroom is on a piece of paper. And that's what they're looking at, and that's all they're paying attention to is this piece of paper. The state of Arizona versus Dustin Lone, case number such and such. And until this case is closed, that's all they see. And then when they see it closed with the stamp on the bottom, then they don't have, then there's nothing else to see. But they need you to come along, and you have to be surety for the charge. So they get you to come in, and you stand up and say, now, I'm the guy who is the problem, and that's the one that's charged, and so forth. And you have to come in and be surety for the charge. And so you can't do that without an attorney. You can do that on your own. That's the only thing they let you to do. Yeah, I'm guilty. I'm not guilty. You can't just come in and put together your own case. Like even if you're a Matlock, they say, what is it? Mark Twain says, if somebody represents themselves, they have a fool for a client. So even lawyers are so duped into this garbage that if the lawyer had to go to court, he could be, Thomas Jefferson or something. He wouldn't even be capable of representing himself because you need to have some advocate. You have to have somebody who represents you, which is interesting because the word represent, now I'm not you can break this apart, but I'm just going to go off of I'm not an etymologist or haven't any degree, but when you present something, you're just like, hey, here it is right here. This is what I got. Can I present this to you? And they said, well, no. You can't present that. He needs to present it for us. So you hand it over to your attorney, and he represents it. And then they say, oh, yeah, I see that now. So without somebody doing that for you, they don't see it. So you got to hire this attorney, and he's got to come in, and he's part of the same bar club, and they're on the same golf course, and they're probably Facebook friends and all that garbage. And so where was I? So he's gives me 2 hours. He didn't tell me the court date was happening. And then he gives me 2 hours to make this decision, to take anger management. And after thinking about it, I'm like, well, what if they don't like me? I mean, this is kind of making me angry already. So what if they pick up on my anger, the fact that I'm not happy about this? I feel like I'm managing it okay, but what if they don't believe me? And then they're just going to go ahead and just hit me with the full, because I have 6 months to complete this thing, and then it's not on my record if I agree to this. Well, what if they don't like me? What if they just hit me with their fullest anger? You're the angriest, most unmanageable person, and we're going to have to get this under control. And by the way, you have to pay us for us to do this, so we're just going to go ahead and you've qualified for the full package. So I just called my lawyer back. I'm like, I don't agree to this. I don't think this is reasonable. I don't want to just agree to some chance card that as soon as I agree to waive my rights to a trial, which I believe, and the attorney believed that we had a good case. But that's what he tells me. Hey, Paul, is there any water around here?
Yeah, there's some in the fridge.
All
There's
right.
a bottle of water. I'll grab you some.
Okay. Or you can just talk for a minute. Let me go do it.
Yeah, I mean, really what this is an attack on the poor. I mean, if you can't afford an attorney, I mean, you're going to be charged guilty. I mean, they didn't even give him an option of any lesser charge until he got his lawyer. And so, I mean, thousands of dollars you have to pay. And that's one of the interesting parts of this, I think, Dustin, is that the amount of money that you have to pay to get justice. And it's not even justice. I mean, at the end of the day, you're pleading guilty, even though it's going to be off your record in 6 months. I mean, it is. I would have taken the plea, but they still win. You know,
Right.
You would have had to take a chance and take it to trial, and you know, you just have a judge that's deciding your fate. And so I don't know if I would have put my hands in the judge, because they're corrupt too. So yeah, it's a tough thing. It's a tough decision you made, Dustin. I think you made the right decision, but I think the money aspect is kind of interesting. You should tell a little bit. I think people would be interested in how much you had to pay to get justice.
Oh, wow. I didn't really want to get into that part.
All right, well then don't.
Yeah. Well, clearly thousands of dollars, less than $10,000. But, you know, you're kind of like, well, why would you even do that? But that's where they put you. You get into this situation where you, you just bow the knee, or you have this unforeseen cost. Now, can I just shift gears real quick? I just want to kind of change the tone a little bit. I've got something here on the iPad.
Do it.
It's hilarious. It's the Onion. It's this bit on the Onion.
Later on in the hour, tips for stretching out your
It's
vagina
satire.
without having a baby.
But first, in today's tough economic times, money stresses can really be overwhelming.
Yeah, but help is on the way. Author Christine Eckert is here to show us some exercises to reduce stress. Hi, Christine.
Good morning.
Hi, Jim and Tracy.
Christine, I'm so glad you're here. I'm about ready to snap.
She is.
The first thing we're going to learn about is problem visualization.
Okay.
It's a simple method for reducing stress by assigning an image to represent your
Well,
anxiety.
that sounds
Okay.
simple enough.
Okay, the first thing I like to do is imagine my money-related stress as the most disgusting, terrifying creature I can think of.
Okay.
I like to imagine an ugly, greasy little creature with a hooked nose and oily black hair.
Oh, he is scary.
I call him the Grabbler because he's a greedy little monster who wants to grabble up all my money. Now close your eyes and picture the Grabbler.
Okay, there he
Now
is.
think of all the problems your Grabbler is causing. He invented interest rates like the ones on your credit card.
Oh.
He's taking the jobs because Grabblers only hire their own kind.
I just want to get rid
Now
of him.
imagine the Grabbler slowly disintegrating like a pile of ashes blown away by a purifying wind. And now you're in a peaceful meadow full of lilies swaying in a gentle breeze.
Oh, that's
They're not
nice.
scheming or trying to rob me.
Oh, well, that really works.
Ooh, what a relief. I feel so relaxed.
Now, this image visualization works for other kinds of stresses.
All right, Paul. I just wanted to share that real quick because, you know, I think that's kind of a way to deal with your anger management. You have to visualize your problem, and then you have to kind of just let it blow away in the breeze. But I wanted to point out the Grabbler aspect because that's kind of what the whole situation is. You got Grabblers on both sides. I love that phrase, Grabbler. So that's The Onion. They do some good satire. It's pretty well done there. So I'm there. I'm at the court. Oh, no, hold on a second. Let me back up. So this is still yesterday. I got until 2 o'clock, you know, so I got like a good 2.5 hours to just figure this out. So I send an email, hey, can you send me this anger management stuff? What am I signing up for? What am I agreeing to? Because I kind of just, you know, I was looking for it was just not a balanced equation because there was a remainder called this anger management, which I had no idea what I was agreeing to. So, but then this is kind of where I get into like the lawyer being a Grabbler too. And the lawyer just wants to go in there. He's just trying to just suck off you too. This guy's just making money.
$6.50 an hour, folks.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. $6.50 an hour. I don't even know. I think that's just for the firm. But so this guy, the one I deal with all the time wasn't there. He was out of town. So this other guy who I've got no reputation with, no rapport with, I know who he is. Hold on a second real quick. Hey, hon. Hey, so I'm streaming live, so I think you can check out Framing the World on D Live.
All right, so he's taking a call right now.
Yeah, so
And so I'm going to mute him. But, yeah, it's a really interesting case because it really kind of touches, again, on the Christian persecution and how religious liberty is being trampled. And so it's very interesting. I'm glad you guys are tuning in to this. It's a super interesting topic.
all right, so so I call the lawyer back, or I say, hey, send me this information, and he calls me back. He's like, well, you know, the prosecutor says it's generally 16 hours or something. I said, okay, well, what you have to do an assessment in 16 hours, depending. Like, you're not a wife beater. You're not charged with any violent crime or anything like that. So usually, he's like, I don't understand why they want you to do this. This doesn't make any sense. You know, you're not demonstrating any anger in this situation. Because I got the badge cam footage all the way from the beginning to the end. And, you know, so that was just my buddy making a film, you know, as he was holding the camera as the cops showed up. But, you know, we had the badge cam footage. We got to see them talking. But sorry, I just went off a little.
Well, that would be interesting to see. Why don't we have that on this broadcast, Dustin?
Oh, because it's on I should have brought my laptop, but I just had to go to Facebook where we had this.
Well, have
short
your
notice.
wife send it to you.
Oh, no, because
Oh, okay.
the name of the file is just weird, and you know.
Okay.
But it's like it's so long and drawn out. That was the meat of it right there. So they locked me up too, but it's like car ride and stuff. But what's cool is that we actually had salvation in that neighborhood the cops, you see on the camera as they're driving by, we pass like the other team that's sitting there and they're talking to some lady, whose name I think her name even was Brenda. For some reason, I was thinking her name was Brenda too. There was like a weird thing about her name, but so she ended up trusting on the Lord, and so it was not for nothing. And we're going to go back anyway. We're just going to go back. But if they want my name, I'll give my first and last name and walk away. But not for another 6 months until all this stuff is sorted out officially. Not until I get that clean bill of health, or once it's all done. So anger management, you don't know how long it's going to go. So my lawyer's like, hey, they're just going to assess you. I'm like, well, what if they don't like me? What if they don't like the look of me? What if they don't like the sound of my voice? Or what if there's something they don't like? How can I trust that I'm not going to, because this is kind of how I look at it, as I now have to expose myself to somebody's criticism, somebody's judgment. I have to bear my opinions, or I don't even know. Of course, I'm just going to go in there and say, no, I'm happy, nothing bothers me, everything's good, I like everybody, and I'm sure my lawyer said he's going to coach me, but no, but I didn't want to agree, so I said, all right. So then I said, here's a term. You need to go in there and do something, because I don't believe you're totally my advocate here, because you're just like, hey, you're gonna get what you want. Your result's not on your record. That's the end result. Yay, we got end results. And I'm like, yeah, after X amount of dollars, and you don't have to go to trial. He goes, well, I'm ready to go to trial. Well, yeah, that's kind of what they do. They bring you up to a 2-hour window and say, oh, now make your decision really quick. I'm like, well, I don't want to go to trial. I was planning on kind of going to trial, but not tomorrow. They didn't tell me. It was like, hey, this is tomorrow, and now you have 2 hours to make a decision whether you want to just go to trial or take this crummy deal, which kind of includes what you said. Because what I believe is they could have done this before, but the lawyer and their little grabbling methods said, well, you know what? Don't do it now, because he's going to go to trial. I know he's going to go to trial. He's not going to take this deal. So do that, and we're going to go ahead and get a couple more bills off of him. And then we'll hit him at the last minute, where he's just going to be like, well, do I want to go to trial? Do I not want to go to trial? Well, I got 2 minutes to make a decision. Well, I better just make I don't want to go to trial, So I believe that's the grappling technique officially. So if you ever end up in court, you hire a lawyer. That your lawyer is gonna do that type of stuff. And so and I also believe that if my daughter wasn't in the hospital, they would have probably told me the day before the other court date. They would have been like the day before. This is why it's a shame that these guys are just poker players. These lawyers, it's all about what you can prove against them. That's just the name of the game. So if they're putting you together, if they're selling you some kind of yarn and you can't prove it, then hey, no harm, no foul. So I believe they would have just come along the day before the last trial and say, oh, God, good news. Yeah, this is the lawyers. We got a new prosecutor. And they just they're playing me just the same, because they don't want to go to trial, but they want to push it as far as so they can justify the extra fees, because I paid them, I didn't ask for any payment plan or whatever. I just, said like, oh, we got one. This is good. This guy's going to milk. And we can get something off of this, and that's what I kind of believe. And I don't really believe that they put as many hours in there as it took to, because they have paralegals, so they just say, hey, this is it, just jot this down and go ahead and type this out, and you do this, and we'll pay you a healthy salary, but truly, you're the one doing all the work, and we're just gonna it's like
well, they're not getting $6.50 an hour, the paralegals, so they're paying them to do a lot of the work.
Yeah, I think they're doing most of the work. I think it's just like anything else, they just, it's like if we were at the hospital. So the doctor would come in, and you see the doctor like once a day, twice a day maybe. And the doctor covered the whole floor. And then you have these nurses coming in, and they're the ones sticking the needles, and they're the ones taking the temperature, and they're the ones doing the real assessment and keeping the charts and doing all of that. And the doctor comes in and says, that's good. I have the authority to take you off the medicine now, or to increase your dosage, or so the one who has the real power to make a decision in the law is the lawyer. So he's got the club membership, and the doctor's the one who's got his club membership. And then the nurse comes in, and they just do all of the work, and the paralegal just does all the work. They do all the grunt work. And it's just like, I don't have a contractor's license, but, I'm a subcontractor. So I'm going to work under this guy. He's going to take all the money. I'm going to do all the work, and then he's just going to mark it up and take his cut. And, and he's the one that's got the license. He's the one that's bona fide. So that's what I think they're doing. And in the end, he comes and hits me with this deal. And I said, well, there has to be something in writing. Go back and get rid of this. It doesn't make any sense. Because I likened it to, it's like, yeah, you just get what you want. You don't get a record, and you just do some 10 hours of community service and pull your pants down in front of the judge just for like 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes, just the judge and the people in the courtroom, nobody else. It's not a big deal. You're naked everywhere else, under your clothes. So what's the difference? You're getting what you want. You're not guilty. And I'm like, what kind of lawyer are you? This is not what I want. This is not what I'm interested in. Why do I have to why am I contending with you about, this is not acceptable to me? But then they turn around and go, well, do you want to go to trial? So now they're playing me against my natural desire not to go to trial and take the risk that I could have. Okay, because the other thing is I don't get a jury trial. I'm not getting a jury, So if I went to the jury, and the jury, they can like me for whatever reason. They're just people. And they just say, oh, yeah, he's just in the neighborhood. Not everybody in the jury's going to live in a trailer park. And he's going to be 55 years old and begrudged and identify with the manager. They're going to identify with me, just a nice guy going around, trying to exercise my religion. And when people ask me to leave, personally, I'll leave. But
yeah, I mean, if you were going to have a jury trial, I would say go for it. Try it. But, I mean, if you're leaving it in the hands of the judge, I mean, you might as well take the deal.
Yeah, well, you kind of look like the guy in that Onion picture.
He actually seemed like a nice guy.
Well, I have been around some people of that culture, and I watched him. He's the only one I've dealt with. I've been to court 3 times. So the first one I sat down and I watched him, and he does the same thing. And I've been in the car sale business. I've seen certain people sell their cars, and there's certain types of things where he's just on the script. He just does the script. And so he's just on the script, man. And that guy's he's just playing a part. And everything he does is just according to his little script. But anyway, so that's the guy who I was putting my fate in. And I don't know how he would do because in the trial I think he would be off the script probably, or maybe he's not. So I'd be putting my fate in that guy's hand. And I think, according to lawyers, but they're selling me. They're selling me. Oh, yeah, you hired us, so we got to show you some sort of thing, and this is what we're thinking, and this is why we're thinking you're going to win. So, you definitely, you're not going to hire an attorney, and he's just going to scratch his head and go, I don't know what's going to happen. But we'll just try. Maybe we'll try this. Maybe don't mess up. Maybe, I don't know. But that's not how they do it. That's their razzle dazzle. They come in and be like, oh, all right, we're just gonna this is it, we got it, and here's the thing, and we're totally gonna go after them this way. I think we got a great case. I think they're running scared, and I interviewed the police officer, and he just, he's this guy. I think we'll do well in trial. And then that's why they pull you this whole thing. You're like, okay, I'll go to trial, man. Let's just see what happens. I don't believe I'm guilty of anything. I don't believe he was entitled to take my name.
Yeah, I mean, they always do that. They make you feel like you should go to trial. You have a great case. You should do it. And then as soon as you get to almost there, going to trial, they're like, oh, we got this deal for you.
Right. And it was, so I was like, you need to go back in there and just like be my advocate. You do though. He's like, well, we'll fight. We've been fighting for you, and we've been doing all this, and so I was like, well, go in and fight a little harder, man. Just go in there. Because this is what I think's happening. I think you went in there and said, hey, he doesn't want to do the anger management. Why the anger management? And they said, oh, well, we got to do it. It's our policy. Just like they said, oh, well, diversion's our policy. You don't get diversion because our policy. And lo and behold, they changed their policy. But they brought in another character. They brought in another, it's like you're about to leave the car dealership. You got as far as you could with the one guy. He's like, that's our best deal, and you're like, come on, Marvin, just come on, just knock off another $150 or whatever. Marvin, I just need to be out the door at 24. No, we're so close, Marvin. He's like, that's the best I can do. I'm sorry. We're just gonna. Maybe we should just look at another car, or maybe I don't know, but I'm sorry. And then the manager comes out, hey, Marvin's really disappointed. He thought you guys had a deal, and you couldn't get there. And thanks for coming down. We really appreciate the shot. We really tried to turn your business. Are you sure you can't just do a little bit more? Can you bring a little bit more? No? Okay. Well, have a nice day. All right. So Marvin's like, all right, well, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming out. Well, I'm sure we'll sell the car, but I really wish you could. Then they said they get you out, and then you're gone. And then out comes Barry. Hey, folks. I just was talking to the guy in the finance office, and they've got a rebate that, we didn't know that you're trading in a 1999 Explorer. We've got a rebate for people trading in. We really can give you more money on that. Trade in, I think, 24 out the door. Good luck. This is great. Congratulations. We got a deal. And it's just like the oldest little grabbler method. You know what I'm talking about. So what they do is like, oh, well, as far as the best deal, you can take the deal. No, I'm going to take the deal. I'm walking. We're going to go to court. We're going to go. And then they come like, oh, we got a new prosecutor, and he's got a different policy. Oh, he's got a different policy. Yeah. The other guy wouldn't do it, but, oh, well, thanks, friend of mine, attorney. I'm glad. I believe you. I believe this whole thing. Like, I believe they play that track. They play that track with half their clients. They do that same song and dance. Well, yeah, I know this prosecutor, and, he's just a real stickler. But great news. 2 days before 2 hours before the trial, we got a new prosecutor. The other guy, whatever, he's gone. He's not here anymore, but we got a new deal. So I'm like, well, go back in there and tell this guy. But he's like, no. We talked to him, and he's got a policy. Well, why don't we just wait for the next guy? Because then the next guy's, because I believe if we went to the trial and said, I'm going to go to trial, they're like, hold on a second. They just pulled out, they just looked at, they found in the annals of the records that if your middle initial is J, then you get this little special thing where you get this anger management's not for you. So and that's
yeah, you never know. I mean, if you would have taken a trial, you might have got a better deal. They might have totally dropped the whole thing, and you didn't have to do anything. But you never know.
Yeah. So I said, well, I need something in writing, because I'm not just going to go and say, yeah, I'm going to take this class and it's going to cost me money, whatever, $80 an hour or whatever ridiculous thing they end up hitting you with, because that's always going to, because they're getting a kickback for that shirt. I'm sure they're just giving, I bet you the same people own it. It's always the same type of stuff. Who knows? I mean, that's kind of absurd, but, these people are just, the people who know about this stuff tell their friends, hey, you need to get into this little anger management thing and just hire, you just get the certificate and I'll get you in. And then you'll just have your ex-convicts who are over their anger, share their experiences, and they'll make like $18 an hour, and we'll charge them $80 an hour, and they'll have to do it. I'm sure it's another Grabbler scam. But anyway, you could probably learn something. You could probably learn some visualization techniques, so you don't have to get all stressed out and your money problems can just blow away like ashes in the wind. So I got them to come back, and the attorney said, I got another deal for you. Here's the other deal, is that they're going to cap it where you only have to do 16 hours. The magic number, 16 hours of, I believe it's going to end up being 16 hours, because that's, they're not going to just go ahead and say, hey, you seem really happy. You don't seem very mad at all. So why don't you just go ahead on your way? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, you're going to do every bit of that 16 hours.
I know. That's what I'm assuming. Yeah, so then I go to court today. So my buddy Paul here was so kind to just go with me, and he put on his suit, and we went over there today. And I did tell the lawyer yesterday I'll take the deal. And on the way there, my pastor called me, and I left him a message or reached out to him, and he called me back. He's like, this is what you wanted. Just take the deal. This is probably what, and I think that's, he's like, this is right. So I kind of needed that a little bit, because when I got there, I sit down with the first lawyer. Now I had the second lawyer, lawyer B, lawyer A. He's the one I've been dealing with. He's the one I had most. I've been dealing with him, and then B was kind of on the sideline a little bit on a conference call one time. And then so lawyer B, he wasn't there, but lawyer A came back in. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And we're like, "Okay, cool." And he's like, "This is what's gonna happen. Did lawyer B tell you all about the thing?" I'm like, "I think so." He's like, "Well, let's go over it again. You're gonna plead guilty." I'm like, "What? I thought the whole point was not to plead guilty. You're gonna plead guilty." So then I'm starting thinking, well. So the way these things work is if you plead guilty and then you do X, Y, and Z, then they'll let your head out of the noose. So you just got to put your head in the noose, and then you just have to. I said, well, I would be lying. That's the whole point. Is if a man of integrity, I would just go in there and say, I don't believe I've broken the law. I don't see anybody claiming that I've damaged them or anything. So I believe your little statute's a bunch of garbage, and I think it's a bunch of garbage. And I don't even think I fall into that whole thing. I don't think I'm subject to it, and let's see you prove it. So that was the whole thing. But of course, they couldn't hear me say that. That's why you have an attorney, because you can't just go say those things on the record. So that's why you have an attorney say these things for you. And he's like, dear honorable judge, worthy, who's worthy to unloose the latchet of your shoe? Please hear me plea, and that's how the lawyer talks to the judge and everything. You're like, but that's not what you're representing me, and that's not, I don't. So they have you go in there and have this lawyer come in there, and then he does all that stuff on your behalf, which as soon as you say, hey, this is my counsel, then they go in there and they act like they're your mouthpiece, and then they say all kinds of, flowery garbage to the lawyer or to the judge. And according to the record, that's you saying it, which you would never say. I'm like, but anyway, so they plead guilty. I'm like, I don't want to plead guilty. I mean, I'm not guilty. I'd be lying. And he's like, okay. So long story short, if I hadn't talked to my pastor and said, I probably would have said, well, you know what? Let's just go to trial, man. Forget this. Let's just go to trial, because I don't want to go through this anger management stuff. I don't have time for this. And so we went there, but I started getting angry with my lawyer. I was kind of annoyed with the fact that, the guy yesterday didn't say anything about having to plead guilty. I probably would have responded differently. But the whole thing, my takeaway from this, I mean, obviously, I'm out some money. I've had some help paying for this. So my benefactor is invested in defending me. And so it's cost them money. And so, we push the envelope a little bit when it comes to now, if anybody's going to go knock doors in Scottsdale, they'll know that you've got to give your full legal name to the police officer. Then you can call him a fat pig or, that's a different matter. But, you don't have to show ID, but you have to give your full legal name. So that's the takeaway I had, that same day. And then so the other thing is these lawyers, man, they just totally, and we already knew this, that they're just on the same team, and they're just batting you back and forth like a little badminton birdie. And once you get into that system, everybody knows this. Once you get into that system, they're just going to bat you around, And, what it really comes down to, truthfully, and this is kind of a verse that I have, I wish I could just turn to it, that I think about a lot, is, this is, hold on a second, Paul, take my, take
We'll
this from me.
paraphrase. I can look it up too.
Yeah, I kind of just know where it is, but, yeah.
Well, this is our
Okay,
first
here it is.
time.
There it goes. All right. Are you?
Yeah.
This is our first time. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No, I was just gonna say that, guys. This is our first time streaming on D Live, and it's pretty exciting. We're gonna try to do this more often, and we wanna start talking about different things, having different people on the show, and utilizing the studio here.
Yeah, so we want to get other people to tell stories, give little narratives. I'm long-winded. I've been giving way too many details that are just. I mean, the story is I got arrested. I didn't give the officer my full name, and I probably should have just bowed the knee that day, but I didn't, and it cost thousands of dollars. And then my lawyer, I feel like he played me around a little bit, yo-yoed me a little bit. And he did it in a very graceful way. So I will say that he was very gentle in how he took advantage of me, which I believe it's just the system. He's just working the system. So he's part of the system. You're involved in the system. You need a system representative to get you out of the system. So he did a really nice job with that. I would recommend them if you're in that situation, because I'm just heightened to that kind of stuff. So, but you really couldn't do anything about it. You're like, hey, this guy's totally like piecing me up, and I believe he's just blowing smoke, and I can see it. But what are you gonna do? So I took the deal. I've got to do anger management for 16 hours, which is still undisclosed of whether that's going to be 8 times. No, wait. It's undisclosed how long I have to go. So maybe I'll get 4 hours. Maybe I'll get 2 hours. I don't know. Maybe but they get paid for every hour. So truthfully, who do you think is going to just say, well, this guy doesn't even need it, so we don't even want his money? Why would they do that?
You're taking every hour, bro.
I believe that I'm totally. So I'm assuming 16 hours. That's why I got them to put it in writing. If I didn't know how to haggle a little bit, somebody else would have just totally gotten run over. But, they're dealing with somebody who just doesn't want to get run. I just, I'm not like boasting or anything, but I know the Grabbler game, so I just know where they're trying to get you. So I just try to, I just keep my hand on my wallet when I'm walking through the crowd, because there's pickpockets. So, but in the end, when Jesus Christ was taken and he was going to be crucified. Now, this is a verse that I just use not all the time, but it's kind of like I've internalized it. The Bible talks about how you eat the word of God, and it fills you up, and you it comes in you. Now, when you read the Bible and you believe the Bible and you've got the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit is going to speak to you, it's going to guide you. And the way it does that is it reminds you of the character of God that we receive by knowledge of the Scripture. So if you read the Bible, King James Version of the Bible is the pure, preserved Word of God, 1611. If you read that, it's like some good organic food right there. It's going to strengthen you and help your bones be strong, and help your blood be clean, and it's going to help you breathe deep and sleep well spiritually. And so when Jesus Christ was arrested, he was before the judgment seat of Pontius Pilate. And when Pilate heard that, right, because they said, he was the Son of God. Then saith Pilate, okay, let's go. Here we go. Then saith Pilate, this is John, the Gospel of John, chapter 19, verse 10. Then saith Pilate unto him, speakest thou not unto me? Because Jesus is giving him the silent treatment. He's not taking the ticket. He's not pleading out his case. He's just like, yeah, let's just go ahead and let's take this all the way. Do what you got to do, And I kind of wanted to have that spirit also. But, obviously Jesus, he'd be compromising if he went all the way. And me, what would I be compromising? I mean, am I going to go and save the whole world from the sins of from the beginning of time to the end of time, and take all sin upon my... No, I don't have that righteous mission that Jesus Christ had. But I do believe I have a mission. I do believe I have a voice, and I do have a testimony, and I'm a witness that I can go out and give the gospel. And I think there's people out there who want to give the gospel and who are going to encounter these types of things. So I think we need to go out there and find out where that, sound the waters and see where we can sail, and where the rocky crags are. And we need people to do that. And so I believe I can do that. And if that's all this is for, then, I'll do that. I don't think I'm going to go down in history for it, but you kind of have to have the Spirit of God with you, because if you're just doing it on your own, you're not going to be able to do it effectively. And how effective is this? Well, maybe this little video is going to encourage some people. So let me do that today. Let me encourage you that, if you're going to run into the police, I guess know the laws, but don't get angry. Don't lose your temper. Don't lose your cool. And remember this. When Christ was standing before the governor who had the power to judge him, he was not afraid of the governor. And this is what he said, because Jesus didn't even answer the guy. Then saith Pilate unto him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have the power to crucify thee and have power to release thee? Then, Jesus answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee hath the greater sin. So these judges don't have any power. These police officers don't really have any power, but God, he has the power. God has the power for me to go to jail. God has the power for me to have a good lawyer or a bad lawyer, or, so throughout this whole thing, I will say that I did trust in God, and that I knew the outcome would be okay. But I still, you still have to just kind of make sure that, maybe if I just closed my eyes and just trusted all the way and just said, oh, you know what, I'll hire this lawyer and I'll give him this much money and whatever you say, should I do it? Yeah, do it. Maybe it all just turned out the same. But, I kind of did get a little bothered by the attorneys because I could just tell that they were just playing me a little bit. But it didn't bother me so much because, who are we kidding? That's what they do. So, but I did know that that the whole thing was in God's hands and that God still can take this whole thing and use it. And so what can he use it for? Well, I believe as we go forward, and Paul touched on this, that there's going to be more and more areas where it's not legal to go soul winning, as we call it. Giving the gospel, evangelizing. There's parts of the world that you can't do that. And so we kind of have that mentality. We have to have that mentality that this is what's going to happen as we go forward. And people who aren't Christian, does it even apply to you? You're like, well, that's not even my issue. I don't even care. I don't care if they arrest people in somebody else's neighborhood. What do I care? Arrest a guy. If they told you to leave, leave. But what if they wanted to prevent who came over to your house? Maybe it has nothing to do with that. But should they have that power? And the police officers, should they be following the Constitution? Should these laws be in place that are unconstitutional? Well, I think we're already there anyway. So you're not going to undo these things where all of a sudden the Constitution is going to have authority that it didn't have yesterday or that it had in yesteryear before, 1790. That all of a sudden is the power of the Constitution going to be resurrected? I don't think that. I think we're just going to go in the other direction. We're going to run into more neighborhoods where you can't do this, more jurisdictions where they're going to come along, more stop and what's your name and what are you doing here? And I know I don't have any evidence of you doing this, but I'm investigating you. And if you don't play ball, we're taking you to jail. And then the judge is going to stand behind the police officer. Even if the police officer lies on the police report, even if it's clearly that the evidence is contrary when you show the police report against the video, you see that he's lying about what he said, and then he doubles down when he gives his deposition. And, that your lawyer's still not going to try to get you off on that unless you just – and here's the other thing, is that you do it to yourself the whole way. Every step of the way, it's just like, do you willingly do this? Are you doing this by your own volition? Do you agree? Is this true? Is your lawyer representing you? Do you have any problems with what your lawyer's doing? Everything's just like they just box you in with your own words. You're the one that does it to yourself in their system. They just get you to do that to yourself. They said, well, here's the noose. Just go ahead and put your head in it real quick. It's not going to cinch down on you unless it does. But, but at least it's better than just, the stick that we're going to hit you with if you don't put your head in the noose, which you're probably not. It's not going to come down on you. It's not going to. Nobody's going to choke you. We just want you to put your neck in there in case, we have to choke you. So, but we're not going to do that, but do it. Right? So, yeah, I don't know if anybody's tuned in today. I don't know if this is just me just talking things out with Paul, if we're going to get any views on this, but I just wanted to kind of kick this this thing off here.
Well, this is just the first show, you know. So what are we calling it?
What, our show?
Yeah, I mean,
Does it have to have a name? Can it just be?
It has to. Why don't we just do Framing the World Live?
Yeah. Okay. Framing the World Live. Well, I guess since you've already got the Framing the World thing, I think that's the next reasonable.
I mean, I
Frame
don't
the
know.
World. I don't know. That's your username
I like to have
here.
a name because then you can point someone to it.
Right. Framing the World Live. No, you can't do FTW live.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
I'm sure there's out there already. So, all right. Well, let's finish this with this Grabbler video here.
Wait, hold on. I gotta unmute it. Go ahead.
Besides money, right?
Say you had an argument with someone at work. Take that social stress and visualize it being due to a blabbler.
Blabbler. Well, look at that.
Blabblers represent all that negative energy we experience when dealing with difficult personalities. You know, the kinds of people who love to argue and complain in nasal voices.
Oh, I know people like that. And stresses are everywhere,
right.
too.
Oh, they are. They're always lurking like rats. You know, that's why sometimes meditative exercises aren't enough. So take your mind off your stress by doing something good for yourself. Exercise.
Oh, I know.
Okay,
I feel
excellent.
better after my yoga class.
Right, right.
I will often go for a long walk in the middle of the night and throw flaming bottles at certain houses, or even sneak in through the back doors and light their curtains on fire while they're asleep.
Working up a sweat to rid yourself of that stress. All right, well, Christine, thanks so much for being our guest this morning and sharing your advice. Everyone should check out Christine's new book, The Solution, Kill All the Grabblers, and it's available in bookstores now. And when we come back, why you don't have to wait until after you're 40 to have sex after 40.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.